Hi, I'm Matt.
Hey, I'm Bianca.
And we're from everybodyswing.com. And this is exciting. We actually are interviewing someone. We haven't done that in a little while. It's Jason and Jess. These are actually good friends of ours. We are at, hi guys.
Hi.
Where are we at?
We're in Jamaica.
We're in Jamaica. We're at Hedonism 2 again. This is our favorite resort. We love this place. And so this is the first time you guys have been here, right?
First time.
Right.
Okay, what do you think of it so far?
Amazing.
Okay.
No place like it.
Yeah, so you guys haven't really been on any lifestyle like the cruises or anything like that?
No, like we've pretty much strictly been lifestyle, hotel takeovers, clubs, hotel or house party, stuff like that.
How long have you been in lifestyle?
8-9 years?
All right, so this is an interesting one because there's something special about Jason and Jess that is actually very difficult to interview because it's kind of a secret thing so much. But you guys are willing, which is awesome. So Jason and Jess actually have a military background, and in the military there's a lot of stigma against swinging.
Absolutely.
When you got into lifestyle, were you already in the military or?
I was, yeah. I had been in for 12 years, I think.
Okay.
12 years by the time that we had gotten into lifestyle. So.
And I had just gotten out.
Was that a concern when you started swinging that you could be outed, or you could if your commanding officer was going to be running into a problem, or?
Yeah, 100%. We had talked a lot about that, and at the beginning we tried to stay as far away from the military as possible. So we were stationed in some very small places. So it was like, if even there was a hint that this person also might be a soldier, maybe a haircut or something in the background of a picture, we would just avoid them like the plague.
Right.
But to be honest, after doing it for 9 years, we've met a lot of people in the military that are also lifestylers that are just as discreet. I mean, it almost fits really well with the lifestyle because of the level of discretion and understanding, that you can't, being careful where you put pictures and all the things that we naturally do as swingers is only amplified because there are other members of the military.
Have you run into problems where someone you meet someone and they're like, we probably should, or we shouldn't talk to you, or we shouldn't, this is a bad idea because you might find, you don't understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think we approach every situation, every person we meet with caution.
Okay.
And I think associating with the military in the swing lifestyle, we just one more level of caution, but nothing too extra. What do you think?
We also apply so I'm, so we'll say a mid-career officer.
Okay.
And we've met couples online, or we've seen couples online, and they're like, okay, they're really close to a military base. They might be, but they're both like 22 and 23, and they're probably fairly young in the military. Maybe not the stablest relationship. Maybe there's a lot that goes into it, but we will shy away from those experiences. Like, they're really hot and they look really great, but the consequences of us in a situation with some lower enlisted people, there's just added level of things you can get in trouble with. Right.
Okay, so I guess in the civilian world, that's what you call it, right? The civilian.
That's what we call it.
Yeah.
Civvies.
The civvies. Okay, it's the same type of thing as, I guess, a boss. Well, is it a boss and an employee?
Yes.
But from even in different departments, I guess is still a bad idea. So when you're hitting up another couple, you actually pay attention to their rank, thank you. Their rank, and you're like, okay, so if they're equivalent to me, that's okay. But if they're or approximately equivalent, but if they're much higher than me or much lower, I guess higher than wouldn't be a problem for you guys.
They did, yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Most people just avoid talking about it altogether, and then if you become really good friends, then obviously the conversation will eventually go there. I think the big thing is the worst thing that could happen to us right now is that Jess decides, she goes crazy and decides that she wants to divorce me, and she's going to accuse me of adultery. Okay. And out pictures of me with somebody who's not her, and I could be prosecuted for adultery.
You'd be prosecuted for adultery?
Yes. So the military is different than the civilian world, where you might lose a bad court battle and have to pay a lot of alimony or something in the civilian world. Right. You can actually, adultery is we call it the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Okay. It's a punitive offense, adultery. All right. Yeah, so you could get into a lot of trouble for that. Now, if it was me with, say, a lower enlisted soldier's wife, I could be conduct unbecoming of an officer and adultery, and I'm sure there's a slew slew of other things.
Okay, so is there a definition of adultery in the military then? Because definitely there's a gray area. I mean, there's definitely the fact that Jess is saying, yes, you can go fuck this other woman.
Right.
I'm perfectly okay with that. But would the military look at that as, well, that's adultery? Because I know that there have been many cases in the civvy world where you know, for example, I can think of off the top of my head, there was some teachers. There was she was like a superintendent, something like that, and of a public school, and the fact that and they went to swinger clubs, and they had been swinging for a very long time, and then at one point someone in the community found out and said, "Oh, the superintendent is doing something," and they actually got fired because of the fact that they were having sex outside of their marriage. They were it was considered adultery, even though the wife was perfectly okay with it, or the spouse was perfectly okay with it. If which is interesting, because if the spouse would have cheated and actually had an extramarital affair without the spouse knowing, it would have been okay. That person would not have been fired from their job. But the fact that the spouse was okay with it, that wasn't okay, and the person got fired.
It feels like the act of adding morality to law. Like the law is really cut and dry, but this was an immoral act cut through by these dirty swingers. Like that seems like it carries a negative connotation for a lot of people.
Right.
To be honest, I because I have no fear that Jess would ever do that, I haven't looked that closely into adultery law. To be honest, if the military wanted to convict you for it, if they were going to make an example out of you, they'd find a way to do it.
Okay.
The UCMJ is not as robust and detailed as civil law is. It leaves a lot of latitude for commanders to prosecute where they see fit to maintain good order and discipline. That's kind of the catch-all.
Okay.
I mean, technically in the military right now, you could be punished for sodomy. Sodomy is a on-the-books law, right? And
is that one of those? Because I know they have those in different states where it's like you can't have sodomy, or you can't do this or that, or
it's anything other than
you can't put
missionary.
ice cream cone in your pocket.
You can't put ice cream in your pocket on Tuesdays or something.
On the sidewalk on Sundays. Yeah.
So I mean, but is that something that they? Well, I guess that's I can't imagine that's really prosecuted often. No, that's one of those laws from 100 years ago or whatever.
Or it might be something if they're trying to make an example of somebody, or you've done something kind of heinous and they want to stack more punitive charges on you. That's something that might happen, but all of it's super rare. So personally, we've never met anybody or known of anybody who have been outed, prosecuted, had been in trouble with the military for swinging.
Okay.
I mean, I know the rumor was that swinging began with the military, with like special forces guys.
Yes.
They're gone for 6 months. Hey, take care of my wife while I'm gone. I'm not going to say that didn't happen while I was deployed last. Possibly by
someone I know.
Yeah.
You're right. I remember that vividly.
Yeah, I got pictures of that.
You got pictures of that?
I was in a foreign land, and that was quite exciting.
Well, you need your friends to take care of your spouses,
right.
make sure everybody's safe, and
we're carrying the groceries.
Well taken care of. That's right. Glad to do my part. I had to make sure that I said it was me. It was I was the person. In case there was any gray area there. Well, it's funny. We've known you guys now since the beginning. So we met you. We met them.
What do you mean?
Okay, we met them at the very first house party we went to. Well, we went
like
small house party.
House party, which we were already like, do we want to go to small? Because we were only used to large parties.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a little scary getting there, and first time I saw Jess was when she opened the door and she had a snake around her neck.
Like a boa constrictor. She's like in lingerie with a boa constrictor around her neck.
Pretty sure I took a couple of steps backwards and was like, I don't know if I want to go in there.
What kind of party did we get into?
Forward.
To be fair, it was a very sweet ball python named MacGyver.
Just a ball python. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. But it was definitely one of our favorite memories, and it was great first house party for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we actually ended up becoming friends with several of the people from that house party. A nice core group of people. So yeah, it was a great experience for us.
Sure.
I know Jess told me when you walked in, she was like, she's so intimidating.
yes, that's what everyone
Intimidating.
said. Our other friend said that too, and
the
I was like,
heels
what?
and the dress and the what you got going on here. Yeah, we were
I don't
both
get it.
wowed. And I think you guys were the first people to show up. We were still.
Probably. We're
I
usually
feel
early.
like that's the case. Yeah, no, we're on time. That's the thing.
Yes,
That's our
true.
mistake. We don't do the
Yeah.
fashionably late
Yeah,
thing. Yeah,
this
yeah.
is true. He freaks out if we're like getting to the point of being late for even a large party. We gotta go, and it's like we're gonna be the only ones there. In fact, our very, very first house party was a large party, and we'd never done anything other than what we did on vacation, and we went into this party and we got there on time, and we were the first by hours.
By hours.
Luckily, they had other people, like friends that were there that had spent the night, but as far as guests for this party, we were the first. And it was so awkward. So awkward, because we didn't know anyone, and one of the hosts kept trying to get me to take my top off, and I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm good.
A couple more drinks, please.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think. So the party that we met you guys at was I feel like that was the first time that we had an orgy. That was the very first orgy we had ever had, because I remember vividly that it was that so there was that time that everybody's kind of like talking to each other, and then there's that short awkwardness that happens where people are like, we should get things started, but I don't know how to get things started. And we were brand new, so we didn't know what we were doing. And then one of the other hostesses there, who is a very take control woman, got like all the women. What was it? All the women like
we all lined up on a sofa, some couch, and then our guys were all in front of us giving us oral.
giving you our specific wife oral.
Right.
Good place to start.
And then because it was like, and I think everybody was still kind of awkward, because then her husband was like, all right, everybody switch.
We're like,
I think
okay.
you two were with his wife.
That's very possible.
Sounds about right. That was a few years ago.
Yeah. And he kept the rotation going, because he's good at that.
The other thing that really helped is that we got this from somebody else, it wasn't a rule, like we weren't going to kick people out, but at 10 o'clock we would announce lingerie or less.
Yeah.
So like Jess would grab the girls and you guys would go put on lingerie and stuff, and the guys would strip down to, our, I like to now call it the gay lingerie.
Gay lingerie.
And you have always, and I know we have talked about Jason
You've actually you've been mentioned before.
multiple podcasts or whatever, and throughout every time we talk to people about stuff, like you come up because you always have the best underwear.
So yeah, you're actually it's an interesting point, because you are very good at, like, there's so many steps in getting the party started, and there's that 9 o'clock everybody kind of changes around a little bit, but you even still at parties where we didn't have a time like that, suddenly Jason disappeared. Where'd he go? And he'll come out and he'll just be in his underwear, but it'll just be underwear that's like magical underwear. It'll be like red, white, and blue stripes, or it'll be like an elephant, with the trunk coming off of it.
I might own one of those.
You might, or whatever it might be. So like every time we ever saw you, we're like, what's Jason wearing today?
Yes, the tuxedo
That
for
became
New
a
Year's.
theme. Yes, the tuxedo was always popular.
Yeah, exactly. And that was actually one of those little things that kind of just gets things moving
And I always
forward.
thought it was such a great idea, because it's also very, especially if there's someone who, like us, we were newer, that it would be good it would have been better for him to have something, not that he would have known to do this, but it's a really good conversation starter.
Yes.
And if you're going to a party or something like that where they have something like that, it is a good conversation starter, and it gets people coming up to you.
Absolutely.
So if you don't know someone, it's a really good idea,
100%.
because it just really helps things flowing. It kind of breaks the ice a little bit. Maybe it makes you feel a little pretty.
I feel so
Because the girls have all this nice slutty stuff on, and the guys are just in their jockeys.
Yeah, or still have their pants on.
Or still have their pants on.
Catch up, buddy.
Yeah.
When we first were planning that party, we had some friends that had gone to a couple of house parties, and they had said that they showed up and everybody had a great time, and then that awkward time came, and then it went, and nobody got naked, and nobody fucked, and everybody was just like, well, it's 2 a.m. I guess we're all gonna go home. And they broke back up, and they're like, that's really how house parties go. And we're like, no, not ours.
That's not a good house party.
Well, and I think we had thought, when we had our very first house party, I think we had thought of doing the same thing. We may have, and I think sometimes we would have like themes of like, schoolgirl or whatever. Just because it's kind of like, sometimes I know for me, I feel like if it's just wear lingerie, I'm like, we need more. Like, I can't just pick, like, I do better with like, give me a theme, give me an idea, and then I'll go with it.
I agree.
So I think we did something like that for our first house party. And then we all got to the point where we were like, I remember there was one time where we had a party, and our friends from before that we were talking about, she was like, why is it 8:30 and no one's naked yet? And so she would get the party started. She just would always drop everything and have the lingerie underneath, and as soon as she did that, the whole thing just, she was impatient sometimes. 9 o'clock was too late.
You just need that catalyst to start the chain reaction.
Yeah, and honestly, especially I say in orgy situations, but just any group situations, the earlier the better.
Right.
When we were hosting house parties, we would always say between 7 and 9 is, it was between 7 and 9 show up. At 9 p.m. we lock the door.
Yes.
So you can't get out.
That's the only reason. That's right. And it was really just kind of a point to say, hey, we don't want people showing up at midnight or 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. when things are already going or things are getting close to being done.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you have a new couple walking and we're like, oh, I guess we have to keep doing our hosting things and
make them feel comfortable and get them integrated.
Yeah. So that's.
Well, and we always did a tour, rules and that kind of stuff, and this is where you play, this is where you don't play, and that kind of stuff. So you want to get to the point where, especially as hosts, you can have a moment to be like, okay, I don't have to give anybody any more tours. There should be no one fucking in my bedroom. Then you can kind of relax and you're still playing host, but you can enjoy a little bit more because you're not waiting for more people to come in the door and kind of tell them what's what. So.
And for anybody that's interested in actually hosting parties, I think the great way for us when we started, the thing we did was we wouldn't invite anybody that we hadn't met and that we wouldn't fuck. So it was like, if we would
really
fuck...
bet your limits.
Okay, because you hadn't met us, but you'd want to fuck us. So that's how we got invited to that party. All right, okay.
Absolutely.
I'll take that.
We didn't know anybody. We had never met anybody.
But your online presence was awesome. The contact we had with you guys was awesome. Yes. We did the rule sheet. We put everybody's screen names on there so we could check each other out. It was for us. It was like if we'd fuck X and Y, and we fuck Matt and Bianca, and they'd fuck us, and they'd fuck us. We bet they would fuck too.
Yeah.
That's generally true.
Yeah. And that's how you make a good orgy. Like you don't have the weird couple in the corner, like that nobody wants to play with.
Well, now that I think about it, there are a couple of weird couples at that party, but there were a lot of new couples at that one.
I think there are always a couple of weird couples because we've done this before too, where we've had parties, and I know we've had a couple once that walked in, and Matt introduced us, and I was like, how did they get past him?
Their photos were very different online than what they look like in real life.
That's happened a few times. I can think of another party where we had a couple who came in, and they online presence, the photos were great. I think they were like 20 years earlier, but all the stories or things that they said online were all great and all that kind of stuff. But then they get there, and of course they're much older, different looking than their pictures in every way possible, and a lot of what they said was not true. They'd had like one experience or something like that, and they did bring, because it was a small party for us, it brought everything down, and they ended up like being really weird and taking one of the couples away. It was just awkward.
Yeah. So we were friends with you guys for years, which was great, and then about 3 years ago, then you moved away. You moved to the south.
Yes.
All right, and so
that is the plight of the military couple.
Yeah. So you want to talk about the lifestyle in the south?
It's a little more spread out.
Okay.
A little more difficult to find a tight core group very local to you.
All right.
So we've definitely had to travel. We have a 6-hour drive radius that we travel to.
Because we've definitely heard that before. Yeah. We've heard this on numerous occasions, and we make the joke about it in the sense that there have been people that have told us, I can't have sex in my state because someone from my church might recognize me, so I'm going to drive 5 hours away 100%. To go to a swing club. They get there, and there's a guy from their neighborhood who just happens to have driven 5 hours as well.
Yeah. They could have just carpooled.
They could have they didn't think of that. If they would have communicated beforehand. So you've run into, that is a real thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think the need for discretion in the South, because of smaller communities, more tight-knit, oftentimes centered around the church, people are super cautious about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So especially like Cassidy's great because when they post parties or like couples skip those parties on Cassidy, they also put anybody who signs up, their name goes under the list for that event.
Right.
So you can kind of scroll through, and you're not going to catch everybody. There's going to be some Wednesdays and Tuesdays, but you can kind of see who is going to the party.
Sure. Make sure you don't know someone there.
We've also known people who were like, hey, you guys are going to be at this party, right? And they're like, oh no, we saw somebody from our hometown. We don't know them, but they have the same zip code as we do,
Right.
and we're not going to go. So discretion in the South is significantly different.
Yeah.
Like conservative versus liberal.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Okay, so tell us about Couples Escape.
Can we start? Okay, so Couples Escape.
You have a written speech from the owner.
Yeah, the owner Richard tattooed this on the inside of my eyelids, so I'll read it. So Couples Escape is a great club. So the Southeast is oftentimes underserviced for clubs. If there are clubs, they're centered in small high populated areas, all spread out. So Couples Escape does mobile hotel takeovers. Generally, it'll be like one night will be a partial takeover, and they'll cordon off a floor for everybody.
Okay.
And then the next night, it's a full takeover. They do a great job with security, vetting people, making sure that like the parking lots are closed off so that looky-loos don't just pull up into the Ramada and people get outed. So they do really good at that. And they do them like Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, Florida, Tennessee, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, like that whole chunk of the Southeast.
That's great.
And it's almost every weekend a different state.
Wow.
And they've got a lot of great host couples that work for them. Richard also works for Cassidy, owns Couples Escape, and he's the guy who makes sure that all the towels are folded exactly the right way, that everything is impeccably clean. So they do a really good job. It's almost been a lifesaver for us. It was drive 6 hours to his home club, or not play at all, or play with one couple. Like there was no big parties where we can meet lots of people. And then it was like, what? Now we just have to drive to Pensacola one weekend, and the next weekend we could drive to Knoxville, and the next weekend we could drive to Atlanta. And a lot of their core customer base moves with them. So it's not just like going to a different club every weekend. It's like the same club that just happens to move around, a six or seven state area. So you get the family club atmosphere, and then you get to meet people from that area. So
that's great.
It's been pretty awesome.
Yeah, and like in any situation, the more people that you meet over time, you meet a great couple, and you're like, okay, well, you might not want to come back to this or something like that, but you've actually connected with them, so you can actually create your own house parties.
Absolutely.
Or go on a date or whatever you might want to do, and hook up that way.
Yeah.
And Couples Escape, their website is right down there on the bottom, and I assume they're expanding.
Yes.
Okay.
Always, yeah. But last talking to Richard, he wants to move over. The Texas is so saturated with clubs; it's hard, and he does he makes an effort to not step on anybody's toes. He's not going to park his trailer right next to DFW players and throw a party. He tries to be careful about that. So definitely, I know we're talking about moving some stuff over to California and Arizona. So
wonderful.
Yeah, as it gets more successful, hopefully it spreads out. I think the ability to serve the underserved areas that don't have access to a dedicated club, I think is a great niche for them to fill.
That's great. Well, hey, we really appreciate you guys kind of talking about all that's going on in your world, and military stuff is fascinating from a lifestyle perspective.
Absolutely.
Too. So and just the South, because we don't hear too much about it. So, all right. Well, make sure that you follow us on Twitter. Do you remember the Twitter handle?
No.
Everybody swing
one.
There you go. Everybody swing, and then the number one.
There was already an Everybody Swing. We had to do Everybody Swing one.
Yeah. And this was years ago that I set up Everybody Swing one.
Who has that?
It was one of those. I'd have to even look at it, but it was one of those that had no tweets and no followers. And I was like, really, you had the egg? I'm like, oh, come on. There's no way to contact them to say, hey, can I have that, please?
Yeah.
Everybody Swing one. Make sure you check us out on Facebook and follow us and all that kind of stuff. And let's see what else. And of course, go to Couples Escape. And anything else you want to say? Nope. Okay. Of course, if you want to join us at Hedonism sometime in the future, check out hedotakeover.com, and we'll probably be doing something, who knows what.
Come party with us.
Come party with us, because this place is awesome. We love it.
So amazing.
Yeah, and there's boobs everywhere. Just everywhere.
There's a lot of boobs.
Everywhere. Yeah.
There's a lot of penis everywhere, too.
Yeah, who cares about that? Yeah.
Well.
All right, well, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Yes.